to the Norwegian rich. Quirrell, however, must have been braver than they had thought. In the weeks that followed, he did seem to be getting paler and thinner, but it didn't look as though he had cracked yet. Every time they passed the third floor corridor, Harry, Ron, and Hermione would press their ears to the door to check that Fluffy was still growling inside. Snape was sweeping about in his usual bad temper, which surely meant that the stone was still safe. However, Harry passed Quirrell this day. He gave him an encouraging sort of smile, and Ron had started telling people off for laughing at Quirrell's slaughter. Hermione, however, had more on her mind than the Sorcerer's Stone. She had started drawing up study schedule and color coding all her notes. Harry and Ron wouldn't have minded, but she kept nagging them to do the same. Hermione, the exam are ages away. 10 weeks. Hermione snapped. That's not ages. That's like a second to Nicholas Flamel. But we are not 600 years old, Ron reminded her. Anyway, what are you studying for? You already know it, eh? What I am studying for? Are you crazy? You realize we need to pass this exam to get into the second year. They are very important. I should have started studying a month ago. I don't know what gotten into me. Unfortunately, the teachers seem to be thinking along the same lines as Hermione. They piled so much homework on them that the Easter holiday weren't near as much fun as the Christmas one. It was hard to relax with Hermione next to you, reciting the 12 views of dragon's blood on practicing wand movement, mourning and yawning. Harry and Ron spent most of their free time in the library with her, trying to get through all their extra work. I'll never remember this, Ron burst out one afternoon, throwing down his quill and looking along out of the library window. It was the first really fine day they had had in a month. The sky was clear, forgot me not blue, and there was a feeling in the air of summer coming. Harry, who was looking up written in 1000 magical herbs and fungi, didn't look up until he heard Ron say, Hagrid, what are you doing in the library? Hagrid shuffled into view, hiding something behind his back. He looked very out of place in his moleskin overcoat. Just looking, he said, in a sniffy voice that caught their interest at once. And what are you lot up to? He looked suddenly suspicious. You're not still looking for Nicholas Flamel, are you? Oh, we found out who he is ages ago, said Ron impressively. And we know what the dog's guarding its sorcerer's stone. Shh! Hagrid looked around quickly to see anyone was listening. Don't go shouting about it. What's the matter with you? There are a few things we wanted to ask you as a matter of fact, said Harry, about what's guarding the stone apart from Fluffy. Shh, said Hagrid again. Listen, come and see me later. I'm not promised I'll tell you anything. Mind but don't go rapping about it in here. Students aren't supposed to know. They'll think I have told you. See you later then, said Harry. Hagrid shuffled off. Was he hiding behind his back? Said Hermione thoughtfully. Do you think it had anything to do with the stone? I'm going to see what section he was in, said Ron, who had had enough to working. He came back a minute later with a pile of books in his arm and slammed them down on the table. Dragons, he whispered. Hagrid was looking up stuff about dragons. Look at this. Dragon species of Great Britain and Ireland. From Pick to Inferno, a dragon keeper's guide. Hagrid's always wanted a dragon, he told me so the first time I ever met him, said Harry. It's against our laws, said Ron. Dragon breeding was outlawed by the Warlock Convention of 1709. Everyone knows that it's hard to stop Muggles from noticing us if we are keeping dragon in the background way. You can't tame dragons. It's dangerous. You should see the burnt Charlie's caught of wild ones in Romania. But there aren't wild dragons in Britain, said Harry. Of course there are, said Ron. Commonwealth Green and Hermione. The Ministry of Magic has a job for seeing them up. I can tell you, our kind have to keep putting spell on muggles who have spotted them to make them forget. So what on earth Hagrid up to? Said Hermione. When they knocked on the door of the gatekeeper an hour later, they were surprised to see that all the curtains were closed. Hagrid called, "Who is it?" before he let them in and then shut the door quickly behind them. It was stifling hot inside, even though it was such a warm day. There was a blazing fire in the grate. Hagrid made them tea and offered them toast sandwich, which they refused. "So you want to ask me something?" "Yes," said Harry. There was no point beating around the bush. "We were wondering if you could tell us what guarding the Sorcerer's Stone apart from Fluffy." Hagrid roared at him. "Of course I can," he said. "Number one, I don't know myself. Number two, you know too much already. So, wouldn't tell you if I could. That stone here for a few good reasons. If was almost stolen out Grignard, I suppose you have worked that out and all. Beat me how you know about Fluffy." "Oh, come on, Hagrid. You might not want to tell us, but you do know. You know everything that goes on round here," said Hermione in a warm, flattering voice. Hagrid's beard twitched and they couldn't tell he was smiling. "We only wondered who had done the guarding, really," Hermione went on. "We wonder who Dumbledore had trusted enough to help him, apart from you." Hagrid just swelled at these last words. Harry and Ron beamed at Hermione. "Well, I don't suppose it could hurt to tell you that. Let's see." He borrowed Fluffy from me. Then some of teacher did enchantments, Professor Sprout, Professor Flitwick, Professor McGonagall. He ticked them off on his finger, Professor Quirrell, and Dumbledore himself did something, of course. Hang on, I have forgotten someone. Oh, yeah, Professor Snape. Yeah, you're not still on about that, are you? Look, Snape help protect the stone. He's not about to steal it. I knew Ron and Hermione were thinking the same as he was. If Snape had been in the protecting the stone, it must have been easy to find out how the other teachers had guarding it. He probably knew everything except its Quirrell spell and how to get past Fluffy. "You are the only one who knows how to get past Fluffy, aren't you, Hagrid?" said Harry anxiously. "And you wouldn't tell anyone, would you? Not even one of the teachers?" "Not a soul known except me and Dumbledore," said Hagrid proudly. "Well, that's something," Harry muttered to the others. "Hagrid, can we have a window open? I'm boiling." "Can't, Harry, sorry," said Hagrid. Harry noticed him glance at fire. Harry looked at it too. "Hagrid, that's what." But he already knew what it was. In the very heart of the fire underneath the kettle was a huge black egg. "Oh," said Hagrid, fiddling nervously with his braid. "That's where did you get it, Hagrid?" said Ron, crouching over the fire to get closer look at it. "It must have cost you a fortune." "Won it," said Hagrid. "Last night I was down in the village having a few drinks and got into a game of cards with a stranger. Think he was quite glad to get rid of it, to be honest." "But what are you going to do with it when it's hatched?" said Hermione. "Well, I have been doing some reading," said Hagrid, pulling a large book from under his pillow. "Got this out of library. Dragon breeding for pleasure and profit. It's a bit outdated, of course, but it's all in here. Keep the eggs in the fire, cause their mother feeds on. I'm seen and when it has fed it on buckets on brandy mixture with chicken blood every half hour. And see here how to recognize different eggs. What I got there, Norwegian Ridgeback. They are rare them. He looked very pleased with himself, but Hermione didn't. Hagrid, you live in a wooden house, she said. But Hagrid wasn't listening. He was humming merely as he saw the fire. So now they had something else to worry about. What might happen to Hagrid if anyone found out he was hiding a illegal dragon in his hut? Wonder what it's like to have a peaceful life, Ron sighed. As evening after evening they struggled through all the extra homework they were getting. Hermione had now started making study schedules for Harry and Ron too. It was driving them nuts. Then one breakfast time, Hagrid brought Harry another note from Hagrid. He had written only two words. It's hatching. Ron wanted to skip herbology and go straight down to the hut. Hermione wouldn't hear it off. Hermione, how many times in our lives are we going to see a dragon hatching? We have got to listen. We'll get into trouble, and that's nothing to what Hagrid going to be in when someone find out what he is doing. Shut up, Harry whispered. Malfoy was only a feet away, and he had stopped dead to listen. How much had he heard? Harry didn't like a look on Malfoy's face or tone. Ron and Hermione argued all the way to herbology, and in the end, Hermione agreed to run down to Hagrid's with the other two during morning break. When the bell sounded from the castle at the end of their lesson, and there three of them dropped their trowels at once and hurried through the ground to the edge of the forest. Hagrid greeted them looking flushed and excited. It's nearly out. He urged them inside. The egg was lying on the table. There were deep cracks in it. Something was moving inside. A funny clicking noise was coming from below. They all drew their chair up to the table and watched with bated breath. All at once there was a scraping noise and the egg split open. Baby dragon flopped onto the table. It wasn't exactly pretty. Harry thought it looked like a crumpled black umbrella. Its spiny wings were huge compared to its skinny jet body. It had a long snout with wide nostrils, the stub of horns, and bulging orange eyes. It sneezed. A couple of sparks flew out of his snout. Isn't he beautiful? Hagrid murmured. He reached out of a hand to stroke the dragon's head. It snapped at his finger, showing pointed fact, bless him. Look, he know his mommy, said Hagrid. Hagrid said Hermione, how fast do Norwegian Ridgeback grow exactly? Hagrid was about to answer when the color suddenly drained from his face. He leaped to his feet and ran to the window. What's the matter? Someone was looking through the gap in the curtain. It's Sid. He's running back to the school. Harry bolted to the door and looked out. Even at distance, there was no mistaking him. Malfoy had seen the dragon. Something about the smile lurking on Malfoy's face during the next week made Harry, Ron, and Hermione very nervous. They spent most of their free time in Hagrid's darkened hut trying to reason with him. Just let him go, Harry urged, set him free. I can't, said Hagrid. He's too little, he'll die. They looked at the dragon. It had grown 3 times in length in just a week. Smoke kept falling out of his nostrils. Hagrid hadn't been doing his game picking keeping duties because the dragon was keeping him so busy. There were empty brandy bottles and chicken feather all over the floor. I have decided to call him Norbert, said Hagrid, looking at the dragon with misty eyes. He really knows me now. Watch. Norbert, Norbert, where's Mommy? He's lost his marble, Ron muttered in Harry's ear. Hagrid said, Harry loudly, give it 2 weeks, and Norbert going to be as long as your house. Malfoy could to go to Dumbledore at any moment. Hagrid bit his lips. I know I can't keep him forever, but I can just dump him. I can't. Harry suddenly turned Ron to Charlie. He said, "You're losing it too," said Ron. "I'm Ron, remember? No, Charlie, your brother. Charlie, I'm Romania, studying dragons. We could send Norbert to him. Charlie can take care of him and then put him back in the wild." "Brilliant," said Ron. "How about it, Hagrid?" And in the end, Hagrid agreed that they could send an owl to Charlie to ask him. The following week dragged by. Wednesday night found Hermione and Harry sitting alone in the common room, long after everyone else had gone to bed. The clock on the wall had just seemed midnight when the portrait hole burst open. Ron appeared out of, however, as he pulled off Harry's invisibility cloak. He had been down at Hagrid's hut, helping him feed Norbert, who was now eating dead rats by the crate. "It bit me," he said, showing them his hand, which was unwrapped in a bloody handkerchief. "I'm not going to be able to hold a quill for a week. I tell you, that dragon's the most horrible animal I have ever met. But the way Hagrid goes on about it, you think it was a fluffy little bunny rabbit. When it bit me, he told me off for frightening it. And when I left, he was signing it a lullaby." There was a tap on the dark window. "His Hedwig," said Harry, hurrying to let her in. "She'll have Charlie's answer." The three of them put their head together to read the note. "Dear Ron, how are you? Thanks for the letter. I'd be glad to take the Norwegian Ridge back, but it won't be easy getting him here. I think best thing will be to send him over with some friends of mine who are coming to visit me next week. Trouble is they must be seen crying, carrying an illegal dragon. Could you get the Ridge back up the tallest tower at midnight on Saturday? They can meet you there and take him away while it's still dark. Send me an answer as soon as possible. Love, Charlie." They looked at one another. "We have got the invisibility clock," said Harry. "It shouldn't be too difficult. I think the clock big enough to cover two of us and the Norbert." It was a mark of how bad the last week had been that the other two agreed with him. Anything to get rid of Norbert and Malfoy. There was a hitch. By the next morning, Ron's bitten hand had swollen to twice its usual size. He didn't know whether it was safe to go to the Madame Pomfrey, where she recognized a dragon bite. By the afternoon, though he had no choice, the cut had turned a nasty shade of green. It looked as if Norbert's fangs were poisonous. Harry and Hermione rushed to hospital wing at the end of the day to find Ron in a terrible state in bed. "It's not just my hand," he whispered, "although that feel like it's all about fall off. Malfoy told Madame Pomfrey he wanted to borrow one of my books so he could come and have a good laugh at me. He kept waiting to tell you what really bit me. I have told her it was a dog, but I don't think she believed me. I shouldn't have hit him and the Quidditch match. That's why he's doing this." Harry and Hermione tried to calm Ron down. "It'll all be over at midnight on Saturday," said Hermione. But this didn't soothe Ron at all. On the contrary, he sat bolt upright, the broke into a sweat. "Midnight on Saturday," he said in a hoarse voice. "Oh no, oh no. I have just remembered Charlie's letter was in that book Malfoy took. He's going to know how we are getting rid of Norbert." Harry and Hermione didn't get a chance to answer. Madam Pomfrey come over at the moment and made them leave, saying Ron needed sleep. It's too late to change the plan now, Harry told Hermione. We haven't got time to send Charlie another hour, and this could be our only chance to get rid of Norbert. We'll have to risk, and we have got the invisibility cloak. Malfoy doesn't know about it. They found Fang, the boarhound, sitting outside with Banji's tail when they went to tell Hagrid to open a window to talk to them. I won't let you in. He puffed. Norbert's at the tricky stage. Nothing can't handle. When they told him about Charlie's letter, his eyes filled with tears. Although that might have been because Norbert had just bitten him on the leg. Ah, it's all right. He only got my boot just playing. He's only a baby after all. The baby banged its tail on the wall, making the window rattle. Harry and Hermione walked back to the castle feeling Saturday couldn't come quickly enough. They would have felt sorry for Hagrid when the time came for him to say goodbye to Norbert if they hadn't been so worried about what they had to do. It was a very dark, cloudy night, and they were a bit late arrived at Hagrid's house because they had to wait for Pius to get out of their ways in the entrance hall, where he had been playing tennis against the wall. Hagrid had Norbert packed and ready in a large crate. He's got a lot of rats and some brandy for the journey, said Hagrid in a muffled voice. And I have packed his teddy bear in case he gets lonely. From inside the crate came ripping noise that sounded to Harry as tough the teddy was having his head torn off. Bye bye, Norbert. Hagrid sobbed as Harry and Hermione covered the crater with the invisibility cloak and stepped underneath it themselves. Mommy will never forget you. How they managed to get the crater back up to this castle, they never knew. Midnight ticked nearer as they heaved Norbert up the marble staircase in the entrance hall and along the dark corridor. Up another staircase, then another. Even one of Harry's shortcuts didn't make the walk much easier. Nearly there, Harry panted as they reached the corridor beneath the tallest tower. Then a sudden movement ahead of them made them almost drop the crate. Forgetting that they were already invisible, they shrank into the shadow, staring at the dark outline of two people grappling with each other 10 feet away. A lamp fled Professor McGonagall in the tartan bathrobe and a hairnet had Malfoy by the ear. Detention, she shouted, and 20 points from Slytherin. Wandering around in the middle of the night, how dare you? You don't understand. Professor Harry Potter's coming. He's got a dragon. What rubbish! How dare you tell such lies? Come on, I shall see Professor Snape about you, Malfoy. The steep spiral staircase up to top of the tower seemed the easiest thing in the world after that. Not until they had stepped out into the cold night air did they throw off the cloak, glad to be able to breathe properly again. Hermione did a sort of gist. Malfoy got detention. I could sing. Don't Harry advise her. Chuckling about Malfoy, they waited. Norbert thrashing about in his crate. About 10 minutes later, four broomsticks came swooping down out of the darkness. Charlie's friends were a cheery lot. This now showed Harry and Hermione the harness they had reached up, so they could suspend Norbert between them. They all helped buckle Norbert safely into it, and then Harry and Hermione shook hands with the others and thanked them very much. At last, Norbert was going home. They slipped back down the spiral staircase, their hearts as light as their hands, now that Norbert was off them. No more dragon, Malfoy detention. What could spoil their happiness? The answer to that was waiting at foot of the stairs as they stepped into the corridor. Fleet's face loomed suddenly out of the darkness. Well, he whispered. We are in trouble. They had left the invisibility clock on top of the tower. That's it for today. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for next chapter. Bye bye. See ya.